And welcome to
Josiah's Right.
I am joined by Primrose
and Penny.
And Penny.
Or Penelope.
Or Penelope. Or Primmy and Penny. Or Prim and Pen.
Oh, yeah.
They all have 50 versions, or Rosie even. They have a lot of versions of their name.
Because Primmy's name is also Rose, Primrose, so it can be Rosie.
So we are going to show you today
some toys that Daddy has.
some toys that I got for my birthday. So the girls and Judy took me to Kelly's Toy Stop here in Huntington Beach. We're now very, very close to it, which is awesome.
Yeah.
The real reason we moved to our new house here.
Yeah, you should know that, everybody.
And so I got two toys that I'm not a fan of the term like Holy Grail toy, but if there were Holy Grail type toys for me, these would be maybe on that list.
And I have a flower.
And Penny got a flower fresh from our yard. We went on the weekend of my birthday. The girls got some My Little Ponies, which they now have a collection of. And I will cut to a shot of that. So I'll film later on. I'll film these girls with their little ponies so that they can show you those collection. But what I got,
we do kind of have a lot.
You do, yeah. And he always gives us Serge at Kelly's. Always gives us a good deal.
It's always the same person.
Yeah, he's always helping us out, right?
Yeah.
So we are going to show you these Dune figures. So first, a very quick history of. Maybe just a little bit of background on Dune figures from LJN. Welcome to A Few Weeks Later. LJN was founded by Jack Friedman in 1970. Friedman saw the future and formed LJN to make toys based on licensed properties, beginning with Emergency in 1972. Kids loved hospital dramas after all. Hey, it was the 70s, so what do I know? This was a significant shift in logic. LJN put their money into buying licenses rather than paying for advertising. It's as if Friedman could see into the future with this. In 1976, Jeff Lewis, the Southwest representative of LJN, said, "It's a whole new way of using the TV medium. The shows become your advertising, but you've got to anticipate and take chances." Lewis went on to mention that a mold for a toy, even in 1976, could cost over $100,000. In the 1980s, the Reaganomics deregulation resulted in cartoons explicitly for toy lines.
Or I'll turn you into a suitcase!
Before that, that was a no-no. Be sure to watch this video where I talk about that and how basically guilt led to the invention of the PSA, or at least the 1980s version of it. In 1982, Friedman paid $25,000 for the rights to toys based on E.T. Something nobody else seemed to be interested in, and frankly, the buy-in on that was much less than TV advertising would have been.
My kids are wild about E.T. Now there's a whole collection of E.T. toys. This one talks.
LJN made $70 million on sales of E.T. toys in 1982. Friedman said, "We don't even need TV advertising this year."
Wind this guy up, he walks. Almost like the real E.T. My kids really love their E.T. toys. They actually believe E.T. lives in their closet. An E.T. toy collection from LJN. Thank you.
For most kids of my generation, LJN is known for some really awful video games and some really massive wrestling figures. A license for which they outbid Galooms $25,000, who outbid Remco's $100,000 with a bid of $250,000 for a half a decade of rubbery glory.
Now you can fly 'em and flip 'em in the Sling 'em Wrestling Ring. Wrestling superstars and new wrestling ring, each sold separately from LJN.
But like most toy companies in the 1980s, they wanted to be Kenner. I.e., they wanted a Star Wars-like toy success. Either that, they wanted Spielberg and Melissa Mathis to write a prequel or a sequel to E.T. I don't know, maybe one where they fight the Transformers, but that's another toy company. Where did LJN think they'd find their Star Wars-like success? On the sands of Arrakis. Remember what Jeff Lewis said. You've got to anticipate and take chances. Take chances indeed. Dune was released in 1984, and Universal Pictures and Dino De Laurentiis went all in with toys and coloring books and everything imaginable for any big licensed movie property at the time. But this movie was not remotely a kid's movie. And while Dune certainly inspired Star Wars, Dune, and I mean like any version of Dune, is not Star Wars. I won't go into the Dune film here so much. From its controversial depiction of the Harkonnens? I'm not sure which is the correct way to pronounce it and which version pronounces it which at the moment. I'm bad at pronouncing anything anyway, let alone sci-fi names. I definitely won't talk about the breathy, whispered voiceovers from every single character as they think through things we're seeing on the screen in the movie as we see them, and they say them as we see them. But understand that it's a weird movie and kind of a bad one. And I kind of love it, even though it's definitely a bad movie. So bad and such a traumatic experience, David Lynch refuses to talk about it.
But it was a nightmare, and it was a nightmare.
But all he needs to do is the weather from Santa Monica.
Cloudy.
What you do need to know about the movie, the design is awesome for the most part. Some of it's a bit funky, but the costume design in particular is awesome, in a somewhat limited budget 1980s way. The action figures themselves were on the larger side, about 5.5 inches tall, making them stand out on toy shelves, but making them not compatible with the then standard size of Star Wars and G.I. Joe figures. The line included 6 figures. The full-on bloat mode Baron Harkonnen, who was the only figure that I remember from my childhood, although I didn't realize what he was until much later in life. Paul Atreides in his formal wear and unfortunately not his still suit, Sting cosplaying as Fayed, and not in the gothic metal underwear, the Beast Rabbin with a really amazing likeness, Stilgar in his dirty brown sand-worn still suit, and the ultimate fighting champion sent by the Emperor himself, a Sardaukar warrior, disguised as a Harkonnen sanitation worker. Strangely, the line features more bad guys than good guys, and Lady Jessica and Captain Picard were actually showed in promotional material but never released. The line also includes some of those amazing funky sand mining vehicles and those sandworms. I'm not gonna say anything about the sandworms, just look at them and come to your own conclusions. The Spy Scout is an amazing looking toy, at least from the distance of eBay listings. A Harkonnen, Thropter, was shown in promotional material, but like the Lady and the Captain, never released.
Sir?
In 1984, LJN also went all in on another big license, one that for whatever reason really never took off as a toy in its time period.
Indiana Jones and other action figures new from Raiders of the Lost Ark collection, each sold separately.
Despite being from George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, Indiana Jones just never set the toy world ablaze.
All downhill from here, swordsman.
Granted, Temple of Doom was literally a movie Spielberg says was made when he was in a really dark place, with the central plot of child labor. Like Dune, it wasn't exactly the perfect choice for a kid's toy line, and like Dune, it failed miserably. When talking about the failure of toys and dolls based on the film Annie a few years earlier, Friedman said LJN would probably wind up selling half of them at a loss, which applied both to the Temple of Doom and Dune lines, meaning that both are super collectible now because they were clearanced in the 80s. As to the LJN indie toys, they were in the same style and scale as the Dune figures, down to the Battlematic action, and even more insane prices on eBay. I mean, probably because of the obvious popularity of Indiana Jones versus that version of Dune.
I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer.
In terms of functionality and design, they were kind of sort of a prototype for a future line from LJN, which would be way more successful and way more popular.
Thunder, 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 yeah.
With Battlematic action, you can make them fight with their swords.
The sword is mine, Lion-O!
Thunder, thunder, yeah.
Each sold separately, new from LJN.
I remember a while back they actually had 3 of these guys. As I'm choking Primmy out here, they had 3 of these guys, and they had so they had Paul here and the Beast Rabbin here. Which one is it? Harkonnen? Harkonnen is how it's actually said, I think, but they're Harkonnens in the David Lynch version of Dune.
And we are gonna make Ewok village.
Yes, we're gonna make an Ewok village eventually. So we'll do
very soon, but we just gotta figure out the bushes and the trees.
Yeah,
we're getting ideas too.
We've been doing some planning on that.
Yeah.
But these were really cool. They also had the guy that's like it's supposed to be like the shock trooper, which were, you know, all fancy and cool in the Denis Villeneuve movie, but where, you know, they look like sanitation workers in the David Lynch version. So, but what we have here is the two that were still there, and that one alone I think was, you know, that was the most collectible of the ones that they had. And I think they only had this 3 that I was aware of. I'd have to like dig through Instagram to see the post. So, but they are, it's amazing because they're complete as far as I know. I'm pretty sure this all comes. He comes with his gun and his knife.
Yoshi.
So Paul, and they're great, like, you know, Yoshi egg. They're bigger figures than your normal stock of, like, you know, Star Wars figures, G.I. Joe at the time. They're kind of like getting into that He-Man territory, so, but they're not buff like that. They're just larger size, like, and kind of centered on action features. So I guess maybe a bit more like what LJN did with maybe Thundercats and things like that. This line is definitely more reminiscent of that. I believe there are figures that were supposed to be released for this line, but you can see on the side here, he has his gun and he can like holster it. There's articulation in the joints that's pretty cool. Like it's got like sort of a ball joint and then can go up and down, but then the one arm is always bent and the one arm is always straight, and the knees don't bend at all. They just, but there's like a pivot at the hip. And again, he has like an action, like a slash feature.
Some of my Barbies bend their knees.
Yeah, some of the Barbies bend the knees, but just like
because they're supposed to.
But just like some, this guy doesn't bend his knees.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot that don't really bend.
But again, he's got the action feature. I do wish they had a version of Paul from this line that was in his still suit. That would have been pretty cool. But the figure that I love, and I'm getting decapitated by Primy's Tinkerbell wings, which is the Beast Rabbin here. So he comes with the helmet set here. And I've seen this figure before, and this is the thing that I think is hard to find. I don't know if he's missing another weapon or not, but he comes with his big cannon of a gun. He has a gun holstered that's permanently attached. And
I don't think I saw his face.
The helmet comes off, and there's his face. And these figures, for the time especially, are pretty good likeness. There's almost like cartoon versions of the David Lynch film. Like, it's just like, it looks like the actors, but slightly cartoonish. And again, the action feature for him, he has a little lever on the back here, and he can raise the gun. Well, I guess if the gun were in the other hand. We'll switch the hands here.
Yeah, switch the hands.
If I can get it in.
He has a smile.
Yeah, he's got like he's a bad guy, so it's like an evil smirk. So look, and
he has a big
raise the gun.
He has a big smile.
But when you have him, I feel like I need, you know, the Sting figure now. But to battle Paul as well, for the Baron's other nephew that I'm forgetting his name, Fayed, right? This is, you know, a line that I never thought I'd have in my collection. It's kind of that kind of toy. I thought I'd never see, and let alone to find it. And, you know, they gave me a good deal on the figures, complete. We're still on the high end for what I usually pay for action figures. But it was my birthday, so Judy was generous, and we got them. Like I said, I wish they also had that Shock Trooper one, or whatever it's called. You know, it's the part where like the Emperor's elite group, that I can't remember the name of those guys, but they are dressed like, I think in the book, and they're actually, and even in the David Lynch movie, I'm not sure that it's clear that this happens. Maybe it is. It's been a while. That, you know, the Emperor sends those troops secretly, disguised as Harkonnen or Harkonnen in this version, soldiers, but in the movie they're all white so that they stand out, and in the Denis Villeneuve movie, so that like for cinematic purposes you know that it is, because in the book I believe it's that that Duncan can tell by their fighting style, I'm pretty sure. So anyway, this is cool. I would love to get some of the vehicles for this line. They have that crawler sand thing, and I think they have a ship. I love this movie, even though it's got a whole lot of flaws. It misses the point of the book, even though it's aesthetically great, some really interesting music choices and things. And I do love it because it led me to the books. And, you know, as a kid, you see a movie like this, you don't know that it's not true to what it's supposed to be. You know, I feel like the book, in the movie, Paul becomes a god, basically. And in the book, it's about a man pretending to be a god, from what I believe. And I think I've heard Frank Herbert say as much. And ironically, we went to the library today, and I tried to pick up one of the later books in the series, because I have not read actually all the original series. I've read only the first 2 books. I've never read even the 3rd book, but the first 2 books, and particularly the 2nd book, Dune Messiah, is one of my favorite books, and I've never read the whole series, and I feel like a fraud right now. But I love everything Dune. I remember, I know Super 7 did their version of these figures that are like the reaction style, which would probably be pretty cool to look at. But these will be in a cherished space somewhere on a shelf. What do you think of these figures?
They're cool.
They're cool? Which one do you like more? The big beast guy? The beast rabbin? Yeah, he's pretty cool. His costume is really cool. And Paul is like in his military outfit, so.
Like our friend Paul.
Like our friend Paul. Yeah, Paul, who you can find on other videos I've done. So thanks to Judy and Penny and Prim for an awesome birthday gift. Bye everybody, thank you for watching.
Bye.